Welcome into the program. Tom Tabbock here. With me, I've got Steve Abboud. He's the president of PhaZZer USA. That's PhaZZer US, PhaZZer US. And we're going to be talking about phasers. I guess, but people commonly call them stun guns. Is that right, Stephen?
Yeah, that's correct, Tom.
Okay. Well, tell me about PhaZZer US. What's different about PhaZZer US than the common stun guns that have been on the market for a long time now?
Well, let's define the difference between a stun gun and a conductive energy weapon. The conductive energy weapon actually deploys darts into the target from a distance. The common stun gun is a handheld device that you press up to the body.
Right.
So, and you got to have contact with the body in order to take them down. Now, the differences of the players in the market, and there's only two of them in the United States, which is obviously PhaZZer and Taser. So.
I didn't realize it was that limited.
Yeah. For the weapons that are sold to law enforcement that are used, primarily as a less lethal tool beneath the firearm. Yeah. There's only two companies that supply those. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what makes your phasers stand out?
We've got several advantages that we feel over the competitive brand. Primarily, the grip, it's very comfortable in the hand. It's very controllable, which is very important for anybody that's carrying these things. It's got a high-intensity LED light, about 160 lumen, compared to the lower lumen of the competitor. It has a fully rechargeable battery system, which gives you about 3,000 to 5,000 deployments, which is less waste in the environment, number one. And number two, it costs a lot less, obviously, in battery replacement. At about 10 to 1. So that saves, the department's money. It saves the individual money who's buying these things, and they can, test them out like they're supposed to every single day without worrying about having to buy another battery. And then most importantly, we feel the safety circuit, the patented safety shutdown technology that we have in our weapon system is the primary benefit of this weapon, because based on most of the medical studies, the first responders, the AAEM, they have come up with what's known as the 15-second rule, which is the recommendation from them to not expose the human body to more than 15 seconds in a 24-hour period to these circuits. So our safety circuit shuts these weapons down, and
okay, so you're not relying on the user to count to 15.
No, they don't have to count to 15. It shuts it down every 5 seconds automatically. So when you're depressing the trigger, even it will shut down after 5 seconds. Then after 15 or 3 trigger pulls, it shuts it down completely. Now that can be overridden by just simply recycling the safety, but at that point it becomes an intentional act.
Okay, gotcha.
But it's a mental awareness, if nothing else, to the officer that, hey, look, I put 15 seconds in this guy.
Yeah.
Do I need to use additional force? Is it reasonable and necessary, and can I justify it? Because if something does happen where he loses his life or something or gets seriously injured, then you've got a serious liability issue. So it is a big liability reducer also to the department and to the taxpayers' pocketbook.
Yeah.
There's about there's about $180 million spent on wrongful death of these weapon systems over the last couple of decades. And that's a lot of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about that briefly because, from a law enforcement standpoint, for law enforcement authorities using the phasers, they came into being as a supposed non-lethal weapon or way to subdue a person. So that's why they became popular. But there have been people that have died with their usage, and you're saying, I guess, that it's overusage that causes that?
Well, there's many causes, okay? Obviously, there can be a secondary fall where, they're shot for 5 seconds because it completely lock up every muscle in your body. If you're running, it turns you into a stiff board. You go straight down on your face. You could damage your head by hitting the concrete hard or something. Yeah. So there can be a secondary fall. There's several other factors that can take place. But, to date, basically, there's 1,100 plus deaths, okay? A lot of those were overexposed to the circuit beyond that 15 seconds. However, pinpointing it to that is where it's difficult. But I think that, primarily secondary fall and things like that don't cause it, but the overexposure, it's like putting your knees on somebody's chest. I mean, it's difficult to breathe when somebody's knees are on your chest, okay? And this constricts your diaphragm, which obviously constricts the breathing and the oxygen. So prolonged use of this on the body causes asphyxiation, I think, to some degree, and I think over longer periods of time, and that's where the issue is. But we've had 0 deaths on record. So, 0 compared to 1,100 is a pretty significant difference. And while the taser hasn't been pinpointed as the cause in most of those cases, and, the great majority of them, but the fact that it was proximate to the use of the weapon is what I think has to be looked at.
Okay, so the safety mechanism or that factor in your PhaZZer makes it ideal for public use.
Sure. It reduces the liability on the operator of the weapon, whether they be law enforcement, private security, bail bondsmen, private civilian citizens. So anybody can use these weapons, and they are classified by the ATF technology branch as non-firearm. So from the federal level, at least, you don't have to register them as a firearm.
Right. Okay. That's nice. Now, if you're a member of law enforcement, you get trained to use something like this. How does the public get that kind of training?
Well, they don't have the sophistication, the training that a law enforcement official has, because there's different rules of engagement. But we have a civilian training program, and we designed the weapon for simplicity of use. I mean, like the revolver of the Old West, just point, aim, and fire. It's laser-sighted, so it's a matter of pointing that laser to the center body mass. But the training certification for civilians is on point. It gets the point across. They go through drills, which are important. A lot of the same things that law enforcement does. So they're getting a professional grade weapon that pretty much stops any perpetrator in their tracks as long as you hit them with both darts and puts them straight to the ground. So and they get up afterwards, which is the beauty of it. So I'm not saying it's never going to kill somebody, but we do have a 0 death rate currently. So and that's in 27 countries. So that kind of speaks for itself, I think, in a lot of ways.
Okay, and you mentioned they're with what's going on in the country now, of course, especially in the big cities, but everywhere people are feeling less and less secure. They're feeling more and more threatened by individuals. So firearms are selling at peak levels right now. But the PhaZZer would, I think, appeal to a lot of people who shun firearms.
Yeah, there's been a lot of defundings going on too, which is, reduces the number of officers, sworn officers on the street, which obviously reduces the response time. I mean, and to depend on a budget when your life is potentially in danger, this is a case where it's better to have it and not need it rather to need it.
Sure.
Need it and not have it.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's important, especially in the current environment. And it seems like violence is picking up everywhere. You've got all these shootings again taking place. You had all those riots over the political time period. So it's just been a crazy situation. You have mass immigration overload down at the border.
Yeah.
So. And there's a lot of events currently that would make you think, well, I do need something, and this works right out of the box. So it's not something that they have to wait and get licenses and this and that. I do recommend strongly that everybody goes through the short training and understand how to use them and when to use them.
Yeah.
But,
Now, you mentioned that you don't need to register the PhaZZer. It's not like a firearm in that sense. So how do public people get a hold of? How does a citizen get a hold of a PhaZZer?
Well, I mean, they can call our 800 line, or they can just go to PhaZZerUS.com. They can watch some of the videos on there, which show the effects on the human body and where they were deployed and everything. But they just go to PhaZZerUS.com, and they can place an order right there, and it's shipped within 48 hours.
Well, that's cool. That's a good idea. Yeah. And again, folks, that's the PhaZZer is spelled PhaZZer. So PhaZZerUS.com, and you can see the videos, and you can see how to order one right there. That's outstanding. That's easy. That's really easy. Now, what's the ammunition incorporated into this PhaZZer? Well,
the ammunition, while it's cross-compatible with the Taser weapons out there, and theirs, vice versa, is cross-compatible with ours. We recommend you use the PhaZZer ammunition for a PhaZZer weapon system. But primarily, the dart cartridges are the ones used to carry the electric current in the body. We have 15, 21, and 25-foot deployment distances on those cartridges, and they've got a 7/16-inch harpoon style pin on them, so they stick pretty much into anything they're shot at. I mean, we've even tested them in quarter-inch Kevlar bulletproof vests, and they put the target down. So
no kidding,
extremely effective.
Wow, yeah. Now, do you aim this just like a regular handgun?
Yeah, you aim at the center body mass with the laser, because the darts come out at a 6-degree angle, 3 degrees above the laser, 3 degrees below the laser. So right about the belly button area is where you'd target the suspect. So and then some natural point of aim to aim at the center of a person's body. Yeah. And then the darts come out. Now, keep in mind, at least statistically, 85% of all the deployments in law enforcement are between 8 and 13 feet. Yeah. So for the most part, a 15-foot cartridge, which costs you the least amount of money, is probably the one you'd want to pick up. Okay.
Now what happens if you need to use it and you miss?
If you miss, okay, there's two things. There's a couple things you can do, and this is covered in some of the drills. But let's say you hit him with one dart but miss with the other. You'll immediately hear, by the sound of the electricity going over the arc, going over the two metal prongs in the cartridge, because when it does connect with the target into a carbon target or human body, it clicks rather than sparks real loud. So you can hear the difference between the two, which is also covered in training, and also you can see the effects on the body. If the guy's not stopping, okay, and he's moving around fine, well, then you know you haven't connected with both darts. Yeah. And then if it's arcing across the lines or somewhere else, wherever it finds the path of least resistance, then you've got to run up and drive stun him with a different part of that. Wherever the prong came out, whether it was top or the bottom, you just got to bring that weapon up into his hip or someplace else, a different part of his body. It'll complete the connection. It'll cause the neuromuscular to lock up and drop into the ground. If you miss with both, then you have to do a drive stun, and we recommend you come straight at them with a drive stun and grill it into their hip or something with your other arm up protecting your face. But if you've got time and you can switch the cartridge out, which you need to do efficiency drills on that to get that down, but you can switch it out and deploy it again if you need to. But as long as you take your time, point, aim, and fire, the likelihood of missing at less than 15 feet is not very likely.
Yeah. What's the cost comparison to this and other stun guns on the market?
Well, the standard stun gun you have to press against somebody. This is obviously much more sophisticated weapon system, but it's much more effective as well. It's not based on pain compliance. It's based on the neuromuscular lockup. But as in comparison to our one competitor, we can usually save you about 25% in comparison on average.
Okay. All right. To recap, folks, we've been talking to Stephen Abboud. He's the president of PhaZZer US. Again, that's PhaZZer. You can find out more about the product at PhaZZerUS.com, and you can order there. You can see video there. Stephen, I want to thank you for joining us. It's been fantastic.
And Tom, one other thing I'd like to add is we'd be glad to offer your constituents who listen to your program, KAZM, AM 780, a 10% discount using the call symbols KAZM on the coupon code. So if any of them in the next 7 days want to pick one up, you can give them a 10% off anything they pick up.
Outstanding. Right? Thank you.
Okay.
You've been listening to the Business Profile on 780 KAZM. The Business Profile can be heard weekdays at this time. Just another way KAZM keeps you in touch with the community. To profile your business or special event, call KAZM at 282-4154. That's 282-4154.